Hey, welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, tonight I wanted to discuss a message that I had from someone. You may have had one of these yourself. It is a message which claims to be not from President Trump, but to have been acknowledged as from President Trump, and with a request from President Trump that the message be actually forwarded to 20 people. Now, this is from a subscriber that I've had many exchanges with, in communication, okay, not arguments, and have shared a lot of the same opinions and feelings and convictions. So it's someone who I'm always prepared to, Jeff, it's Jeff, I won't say his second name because he hasn't told me that I can do that, but anyway, so Jeff has sent me something, and it's a comment really on how politicians in America and probably all over the world continue to behave. And they are supposed to represent that much used, much abused, much ignored phrase, "we the people," for we the people. Now, I'm not, in this particular video, I'm not trying to take sides between Trump and Biden, but it just happens that Biden made the definitive statement when he spoke to, I think it was either a construction worker or a car company worker, and he said, when the man said, "You work for me," Biden made it very clear, "I don't work for you. I don't work for you." Well, actually, the idea was that politicians would work for us. Now, this has said it so much better than I am. And right now, I don't really care whether President Trump did or didn't say to forward this message, if you get it, to 20 people. The thing is that things go viral so incredibly quickly that anything that is posted and duplicated will be exponentially stratospheric in no time at all. So I'm really not interested in knowing whether it was acknowledged by Trump or not. It doesn't really matter to me. What's in this does matter to me, and I think it deserves to be read by most people, because most people do not realize the kind of privilege that is claimed and enjoyed by politicians generally. This is, I'm reading it from it now, with apologies to Jeff if you didn't want me to say this online, but I'm not saying any second names. And obviously you shared a lot of beliefs with me in the past, and so this is what's coming out. It actually says, President Trump is asking everyone to forward this email to a minimum of 20 people, and to ask each of those to do likewise. In 3 days, most people in the United States will have the message. This is an idea that should be passed around, regardless of political party. That's the point. Regardless of whether you are for Trump or whether you're for Biden or whether, I don't know, whether you're for Mickey Mouse, it doesn't really matter. What we're talking about now is an elite of people who, some of them have $20,000 or $30,000 dollars worth of ice cream in their fridge, who knows, and others have golf courses. They are billionaires. The number of zeros that are on their pay or on their wealth is beyond the math capability of certainly myself. So, right, number one, no tenure, no pension. A congressman woman collects a salary while in office and receives no pay when they're out. This is what should happen. A congressman woman collects a salary while in office and receives no pay when they're out of office. Oh gosh, what a terrible thing that would be. You mean they don't get paid if they don't work? There we go. Anyway, number two, Congress, past, present and future, should participate in Social Security. You mean they don't? All funds in the Congressional Retirement Fund move to the Social Security system immediately. All future funds flow into the Social Security system, and Congress participates with the American people. Gosh, this is so unfair. Let me read another one for that. All contracts with past and present congressmen, women are void. The American people did not make this contract with congressmen and congresswomen. Congress made all these contracts by and for themselves. Now, here's another one. Congress must purchase their own retirement plan just as all Americans do. Gosh. Congress will no longer vote themselves a pay rise. Now, this is, when I was in the UK, this was a big thing. We were being asked, I won't read any more from that. I'm trying to keep my lunch down, or my dinner down. The politicians were so far above and so far out of the fight for survival that every man, woman and child is going through right now, that it is unbelievable. While everybody is in lockdown, and including them, they are receiving worldwide, I imagine that this is true. Fake me out if you will, but I will have said what I feel is right. They're getting paid. If I don't work, I don't get paid. And don't tell me that my Social Security is a gift. It's not a gift. I paid in, there was an agreement that I pay in, and when I retire, I get paid out. And that's the agreement that I'm working on. Now, look at it this way. In America, if according to this piece that's been written now that I'm quoting to you, if a congressman serves for just one term and then gets voted out on the basis of who knows what, he still gets a pension. He's still well taken care of. And you know, if you are a single parent, of which I was for many years, if you're a single parent and you're struggling with no tenure on anything, then you're not going to be very happy about that. You know something? A friend of mine at one time was a waitress, and she thought of re-educating herself, of going, she'd had basic high school and hadn't gone to college, and she thought maybe my employment chances, my opportunities would be so much better if I had a bachelor's in something, a master's in something. And she discussed with one of the other waitresses, and the other waitresses said, I don't think I would particularly be enthusiastic about you doing that, because I have a master's in business administration, which coincidentally is what Beth has. She has a master's in business administration. And there this woman was sharing my friend's chat on their break, such as it was, that she in fact had those things that my friend thought were going to be so useful to her if she wanted to move up in her job. And I can remember when I first came out of the army, this is not something that can be either labelled true or not true. It happened to me. I came out of the army in my early 20s. From the age of 18, I'd served 6 years. Now, that meant that I'd served 8.5 years, because when I went into the army at 15.5, what they didn't tell me at that time, or what they brushed over very, very quickly, oh, and by the way, it doesn't start, your 6 years doesn't start until you're 18. Anyway, as we were saying, and so I went in and I served 2.5 years, and then I began my sentence, as it later became known to me, of 6 years. Came out when I was 24 years old, and I went into a job as a musician. So I have to credit where it's due. I have the army to thank for this, even though I hated almost every year that I spent in the army. I hated it. It was a terrible mistake. So, but I'd learned a trade, and I have that to thank the army for. I went into being a trombone player, a humble trombone player in a nightclub. My first nightclub job was in a now, I believe it's closed now, or long closed, but it was the Pigalle. And the Pigalle was quite a famous club. It had people in their day like Peggy Lee appeared at the Pigalle. It was a top line club restaurant, and that's where I started my job. My first real pro job. I did a couple of other things before that, but then when I came to live in London, that was my first job, and I played in the band. I was a trombone player, and my pay was either 23 or 26 pounds sterling a week. 26 pounds a week is what I think it was. I later moved to another job which was a little bit better pay, so I suspect that I started at the Pigalle at 23 pounds and moved to the better job at the Eve Club at 26 pounds. Right, so I didn't realise until I spoke to my friend. My friend had a master's in physics. He worked at the now famous, some would say infamous, government establishment for the investigation, the research of the nuclear studies. So he was a research scientist at the government establishment called Aldermaston. You can look this up. There may still even be an assault, a demonstration march from London. People used to march from London out to Aldermaston, which is going out west from London, and I think it might be as much as 30 or 40 miles, I'm not quite sure. Something that you can easily check on. And every year they have a Ban the Bomb march, and that's where you see that it's a line, looks like a rocket in a circle, and they march out there to protest the nuclear bomb and the use of the nuclear bomb, and they do that. My friend was a research scientist there, so his master's was in physics. This is a highly educated, highly trained man, and I was earning more than he was. So life is not fair. But to be so incredibly unfair as to be able to vote yourself without any regard to what everybody else is going through, is just shouldn't be. And that's what apparently goes on. And I remember that the first thing that I think it was of course this can be checked as well and denied, but I remember one of the parties getting in and in the UK, and one of the first things they did was vote themselves a pay rise, and it was an appreciable pay rise too, as has been happening in the US at the moment. So this it has to stop. What this piece is that I'm looking at now, what it is, it's a plea for fairness where, hey, join the rest of us. I guarantee that the problem of all of the problems of medical insurance, of pensions, of the problem of social security, it will all be handled if all of the politicians are in the same boat as you and me. If we're all bailing with the same can to get the water out so that the boat doesn't go down, and we're all in the boat, all of us, then there's a good chance that we'll be plugged up and sailing, having fair weather. So that's my little rant. The point I wanted to make, and as always I've taken too long to make it, is I think it doesn't matter whether Trump, if you're put off by that first phrase where it claims that President Trump has asked for it to be shared, forget that. Forget Trump. Forget anybody telling you. Read the damn thing and say, is this fair? Is this something that I will put my approval to? And if you're just an ordinary person like me, then you'll be saying no. You will be saying no. And then it will be up to you to share it with at least 20 people. I know that now you come up against the same thing I've been telling you about, and that is if you try to share something on Facebook, this has come to me on Facebook, and you go on Facebook and you go on share. Now at one time I went down my whole address book, and anybody that I wanted to share something to, I just hit send, 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 and I could do it. But now I can't do it. After 5, I believe it's 5, might be 6. After 5 or 6 send, after 5 or 6 shares, it says your share limit has been reached. Now I have to go back to where it says, are you sharing? And then I share another 5, and another 5, and another 5, and another 5, and I sent out maybe as many as 30 with pleasure. So if you get this thing and you read it right through to the end, and if you can stop your blood from boiling long enough, start sending it to another 20. And if that first claim that this will be seen by everybody in the US, and I am, just so we know, I am a US citizen, okay? If it can be seen by all, then there's going to be some changes. We're up for some changes, I tell you, in a couple of days. Probably by the end of the month. My mother used to say, there'll be ructions. And if she saw me arguing with my brother, she would say, hey, it'll end in tears. And I think there's going to be a few tears. I think we've got to be ready for that. I'm concerned with all of the people that I love and care for in the United States, which is a lot of people, a lot of subscribers, a lot of people that I care for. Stay safe. You are all in my thoughts. I appreciate all of the support that you have given Beth and I in the humble work that we have been trying to do in bringing some assistance, some help, some succor to the poorest of the poor in the Philippines. Okay, thanks for looking in, and bye for now. God bless.